All right, Grant, welcome in, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. We got introduced through a mutual fellow home service company owner, CJ Welch with Wow One Day.
Good guy.
Yeah, it was, oh my God, dude. So me and CJ, I was originally part of a franchise,
Okay.
and that was in 2020. We started our companies like 2 months apart. So we really kind of like came into Nashville, started a business, grew it together, and really just kind of leaned on each other in different industries, but we were in very, very similar kind of positions as far as life, family, starting a business, and both in franchises. So, misery loves company.
Right.
It was like, there was a lot of that. So, how we like to do this is, what we're finding is these home service businesses and the business owners, they have such unique backgrounds. And so we really like to start with just like who you are, where you from, and how'd you get into what you're doing, and then we can get into your company.
Yeah, definitely, man. So originally from Ohio, grew up in Franklin.
Oh, nice.
So moved to Franklin probably 19 years ago. Grew up there, went to high school there, graduated from Centennial, and moved away for a period in time, came back, and Williamson County was always home to me,
Gotcha.
So I really enjoyed being there. So moved to Thompson Station 8.5 years ago now, and been there, and it's been wonderful. Love it. I mean, explosive growth. We just got a new interstate access, which is super exciting for everybody there.
Awesome.
So you just get right on the interstate. But so been there 8.5 years, and I really enjoyed it in that time.
Nice, man. So 19 years in Franklin.
Yep.
I mean, you're a local.
Yep.
Even if you weren't born here, you're pre-flood, and I think that constitutes a local.
Right. Yeah, 2010. That's exactly right. We had good memory.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Where'd you said there was a hiatus in there.
Yep.
Where'd you live then? Why'd you move?
Went out to East Tennessee. Went to tech school. So I went to tech school to do HVAC, actually. I went out there. I went through a whole HVAC. It was like a 14-month program, and got my EPA certification. And I realized at the end of it, I graduated, I wanted nothing to do with HVAC. It was not my thing. Yeah. I'm terrible at fixing things. Like, I'm awful at it. And so I'm like, why did I do this? But I had it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Going back, I'd do it again. But I had it, and so I was like, okay. So then I got into sales next. So from there, I think my first sales job was Cutco Cutlery. We were selling like high-end kitchen cutlery, to like all your friends' parents, and you're like, hey, let me give you a free demonstration.
That is rough, dude.
Oh yeah. So got into that. From there, got into magazine sales. So traveled the country and sold magazines door to door. It was rough, it was rough
dude,
stuff.
So you've done like the really hard
you have to like start out somewhere. You know what I mean? And that's the best way to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Because you just get this thick skin and you don't take it personally, and you'll have doors slam in your face.
Yep.
Cops called, a gun pulled, cocked and loaded, ready for knocking on a door. I mean, there's nothing, devious here. There's no.
He was
just like, yeah.
Dude, you're in East Tennessee.
It was like,
oh
my gosh. So it was crazy.
So you've sold knives door to door.
So we did knives. I did magazines. I got into construction after that. So from there, I was doing roofing sales.
Okay,
so
a little bit better.
Little bit better. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's the number one industry with the most complaints.
You're the second person to say that in this room.
Yep, that's absolutely it's true. There's no trust in that industry. Everybody thinks it's a fly-by-night. It doesn't matter if you're with a good company or a bad one.
There's a lot of stigma to overcome if you're in the roofing industry.
So started out a roofing company, was there, and then I got an offer from another company that did roofing and then windows and gutters. So moved over to that, and so it had a little bit more full service, more things we could offer. So moved into that, did that for a while, and then from there I had an opportunity at it was auto. Got into auto, and I was there for like 3 years. So did that, and then from there I went and moved from there into healthcare. So I did healthcare sales for 5 years. So that was it was just a whole different series of things that built. You don't see it along your timeline, but it's like building you up. You're learning along the way. You're learning personalities. Quick sales versus these, bigger, higher end sales take longer. Mm-hmm. Instead of like a 3-minute decision, it could be a 3-month decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that sales cycle and learning that and what that takes just takes a whole different set of skills, which I didn't have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you or try to learn it as you go and adapt. And so it was really good. And then during that time when I was in healthcare, I had started this exterior cleaning business. And at first it was simple. I mean, it was like the Lowe's special. It was like a $500 investment. You know, I'm out here with like a Lowe's $500 pressure washer and some, homemade flyers with some stock images and a phone number. It doesn't even have a business name, man.
Yeah.
I had 100 of them. I printed them off at work, and then I just trucked down my street until I gave out like 100 flyers.
Yeah, dude.
And I pressure wash now. That was my thing. So you start somewhere, and so fortunately, then 7 years ago to now, we've been able to learn a few things along the way. So that's been great.
So you've been at it for 7 years now.
7 years. Yep.
And it started with just being like, all right, I'm gonna buy a pressure washer and hand out flyers.
Started with $500 or less.
Oh, dude, that is so cool.
Yeah, man.
That's the lesson right there.
Yeah.
It's like there is no secret. It just takes really, really hard work.
Yeah, and
You wanna do it.
consistency.
Yeah, consistency.
Yeah.
That's right, dude. I want to go back to the sales stuff because I think that's so valuable because, and it's something you said, which is just like, it really developed your thick skin.
Sure.
That's something that I think I still struggle with in business, and it was something I definitely struggled with at the beginning, which was like, if something went wrong in my business with a customer and they were unhappy, I almost took it personally. It was hard for me to separate it because for me it was like, this shit is kind of personal, right? It's like everything I do, I've got a lot of money into it. It's how my family makes a living. It's like all that stuff. So what was, I guess, how long did it take you to develop that thick skin? What's some advice for people who are getting into sales, who maybe don't, have that experience? What's the best approach that you've learned in your sales career of like, hey, this is not personal. Just move on to the next one. Forget it, move on. Forget it, move on.
Sure, yeah. And for me, I don't wear any crowns. It's one of those every day is still training.
Of
you're
course,
still figuring it out every
Always
day. And but for me, what I found is differentiating when a customer has expectations or has their own personal thing going on versus with what you're doing. And when you can kind of separate yourself and realize I've done the best I can, I've followed up, and I've been really good on my part of things, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And differentiating whether that was a you thing or that was a customer thing.
Right.
And when you handle those well, it's amazing. You'll have customers that'll circle back with you a year later, 2 years later even. And we've had ones that have, your prices are too high, we're not going to pay that. They go with another pressure wash company, and they followed up with me. I went on with my life. 2 years later, I got a call. This happened this spring. He's like, hey, are you still pressure washing? It was a guy kind of, knew in passing, and I was like, yeah, man, absolutely, that's what we do. He was like, can you come give me a quote? I remember your prices are more, and I don't know that I'm going to pay it. I was like, no, I understand completely, man. And went out, gave him a quote, went with him. He was thrilled. He recommended me to two of his neighbors, and we've done both of their houses since. So it was like one of those, realizing it's not a personal thing.
Right.
It's just one of those, they have their own barriers to overcome.
Yeah.
And, realizing that and taking kind of a step back and saying, all right, is this something that I need to fine tune? Or is this going to just take them some time to realize, hey, this is what I really want. I'm after the experience, or I'm after having a higher quality, or I'm after just the cheapest price.
Right.
Realizing, kind of taking that step back and seeing what is it they truly want. Not what are they saying, but what do they actually want,
That's a good point. It's also knowing on the business side, kind of having your left and rights, right? Because if they're price shopping and they're just looking for the lowest quote, I think at some point the business owner has to be comfortable with just being like, that's not us.
Sure.
And it's really, really hard to do that at first when you're begging for business.
Right, absolutely.
And you're not making anything. You're like, all right, fine. But I think people who stick to their guns on some of that in a respectful way end up better off and with better customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to treat
absolutely,
you better.
man.
Yeah, that's a killer. So selling knives, selling vacuums, door to door, or not vacuums.
Knives
magazines.
to magazines to construction to auto to healthcare, and now doing this. So,
nice.
Yeah, man.
Oh
Been a good career so far. I'm having fun.
So, as the business owner, how important is sales? Do you still do sales for your company?
I do. So one of the things I've talked about, continue to talk about, is my next move is having a salesperson, a dedicated salesperson. That is, been my whole career. So that's the hardest thing for me to let go.
Yeah.
I can train guys and I can get guys to wash, and I'm okay with that.
It'd also be hard to find somebody who's better at it than you.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. You look at your close rates and what you're doing, and you say, all right, when I get a salesperson, they need to be as good as, if not better than me. There's absolutely stuff I can, improve on. So I'm looking for that right person that could replace and then do a better job than me.
Nice.
So, yeah, finding that right person that knows the industry, and able to do that and follow up and close those customers and, do upsells and everything else needed for it. But, that's primarily right now a lot of what I do is business development, and sales is a lot of my role on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
What would you, I just find this question fascinating because I see a lot of businesses, I'm guilty of it too, it's when you make a hire and you find more time in your schedule now because you're not having to do that thing, it's easy to dip into like, I'm just not going to replace that time. Now I just have more time.
Sure.
Whereas I think if you're looking out for your business, you should then try to fill that time that you just replaced with someone that you hired, so that way you can continue to improve the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that to be said, if you hired a sales guy, most of what you do is business development right now. Where do you think you'd move into as far as the direction, your role within the company, if the sales is kind of out of your hands?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you know how it is, as you continue to grow, you have to constantly ask yourself, what's expected of me?
Right.
What should I be doing? Where should my focus be right now?
Yeah.
And as a business owner, when things are all going well, you are almost like, what's about to go wrong?
Dude.
What? Okay, I know this isn't gonna last. This is the roller coaster. It's about to, I can tell we're about to go for a ride.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. You're just ready for that next, oh man,
Yep.
just something hits you. So you're kind of getting used to that, and with the ebbs and flows and the ups and the downs and everything that comes along with it, you just know that life is seasons,
Yeah.
and it's seasons of different things. So, getting that salesperson would then free me up where I'd really, work in this year, especially on focusing on more longer term thinking, right?
Nice.
Like up to now, I'd like to think that, I can plan 6 to 12 months out, but, when you look at, the big companies out there, like the real big ones, like the Amazons and stuff,
Right.
they're, 3+ years out that they've planned. And they're,
Easily.
one of the things that Jeff Bezos was talking about was like, yeah, we had a great quarter, but you got to think we mapped that out 5 years ago. Like we already knew that was coming. We were that was years ago.
Right.
We had that ready. So it's like mapping out and looking at what you want to do growth wise and long term planning wise, instead of reacting, like being proactive and nobody has a crystal ball, but kind of mapping out your future and what you want that to look like.
Yeah, dude, I think that's the way I describe that is like, for me it was really hard to. At first, when you're doing everything, you're doing the actual work, you run the business. The way I describe that is like you're just looking down at your feet.
Sure.
Right? Because you have to.
Sure.
That's not anybody's fault. It just is what it is. And then you make that next hire, and if that next hire should allow you to look up a little bit, right? Maybe you're looking 3 or 4 steps ahead now, instead of having to look at like, okay, what are we doing right now today?
Yep.
That first hire for me was like an admin help, someone to do our collection, someone to do our scheduling, someone to talk to customers, like. That stuff is so important, and it's so hard and so time consuming, where as soon as I made that, it was like, okay, I was able to look up. So to your point, if you remove all kind of the major muscle movements, the sales, the marketing, the advertising, the admin side of things, the owner oftentimes finds themselves like, well, fuck, what am I supposed to do now, right? But that can be like, okay, how do we position ourselves in that 6 months to be making X or hiring Y or getting this commercial contract or whatever it might be.
Sure.
Super smart, dude. What's the biggest challenge in your industry?
It'll change, of course, through your different seasons. Current biggest challenge, I'd say, this year, this has been a new thing for us, has been employee retention.
Yeah.
That's been our single biggest challenge this year. We're very fortunate, sales and marketing and business development wise and customer wise and referral wise. We couldn't ask for a better place to be in. But employee retention has been our single. We didn't really have it up to this year. This year, I'd say our single largest thing has been employee retention. So it was something that we were really, a little bit blindsided by. We didn't really see it coming, but getting that fixed has been a huge priority for me the last few months, because it's like that costs you in so many ways, not having longevity with employees. So getting that fixed has been a huge thing. Fortunately, we're now on the other side of it.
So how'd you fix it?
It was a few things, but one, really sitting down and hearing out. It's crazy. You get so wrapped up in your world and your problems and what you got going on and what the next step is and what's expected and what our goals are. And listen.
Yeah.
You're talking.
Yeah.
I'm talking, right? And it's like, stop and listen.
Yeah.
So.
And you're talking about listen to your employees.
Listen to your employees. They're the most important people on the team.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
time.
I'm replaceable. They're not, so it's like listening to what they have to say, pros and cons, things that are to you is like the smallest deal in the world may be highly crucial to them. And it's like these minor changes that you can make to make their whole experience better.
Yeah.
So listening to them has been a huge thing. Getting more this year I've really delved into, and we're starting more employee-based stuff. You know how it is. If you're not, Microsoft, you don't think about stuff like at that level, but it's like, no, hey, start thinking about, what can we do for retirement plans?
Yep.
Something we're about to implement for guys with us that are W-2 after 90 days. What can we do, at health insurance?
Yep.
That's very expensive, as you're aware. Dental, vision, paid vacations. Is this anything, holiday pay? There's these things that you can put into place that as you're growing, you're on growth and grind mode so hard, you don't stop to think about stuff like that. And it's like, when does that come into play? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of doubling back and being like, hey, look, we've been on such growth and grind mode. We haven't paid attention to that. So that year, this year, it's been a lot more focus on that.
Right on. That's, man, the labor problem is, I think, a problem a lot of people have or are worried about as they're thinking about getting into their own business.
Sure.
Yeah, the benefits stuff, you can get really creative and not have to spend a ton of money. Yeah. You just have to be willing to, I think what people get confused with is they think it's got to be this chicken or the egg.
Sure.
Right? And they're like, okay, once this happens, then we'll do this, then we'll do this. But oftentimes in business, what I've found is these things will happen at this scale, and you have to implement something here too for them to do this together. And if you stop that movement graph, right, it might stop on this, which this is implement the health benefits. This is have enough money to do it, right?
Right.
And you just have to kind of time it out. But I think that's the concern, and I think that's why people don't do it. And I also think that business owners get addicted to some margins.
Sure.
And they go, shoot, man, we're at the end of the day, we're making 50% margin. I don't want to see that go away,
right? Because
then I'm not making as much money or whatever it might be. So I guess it just kind of narrows down to your goals too there. But dude, something from the beginning that we implemented was mimicked after one of my business partners, and it's a profit sharing plan, but it's also a match at year 5. So basically what it was if we have a 10% profit share plan for certain levels and up. So, and it's weighted based on salary. So if you have 3 employees that are at that manager up level, then they qualify for this 10% profit share, but it was weighted based on salary. So let's say somebody was making, X amount of dollars that landed 2% of that 10% as the profit margin share for them, the profit share for them. So they would get that bonus quarterly, and then what the company would do is we'd set aside and match it for quarter 1, year 5. And the same thing for quarter 2, year 5. So their first year here, they'd get their bonuses throughout the first year. And then each one of those quarters would be matched for quarters 1, 2, 3, 4 in year 5. So that way, year 2 is year 6. Year 3
That's
is year
long-term
7.
planning, man. That's
great.
So
it's trying to encourage things I want you to stick around,
sure.
And then if they're in year 5, they've probably gotten a raise since then, and they're also going to get their bonus in quarter 1, and they're going to get their match from quarter 1, year 1. And then so once they hit year 5, they're making a lot more money, and it only benefits the business, right? Sure. As long as you have the right people in place. Yeah. The labor stuff, the people stuff is so important. That's one common thing we've found in these conversations is the people who have it together, they've got 1 or 2 go-to people that have been with them for a long time. They're their kind of right-hand person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, dude, it's the labor stuff is very, very interesting. What else? Is there any other kind of challenges you guys have overcome throughout the years? You're 7 years in business. So from year 1 to year 7, challenges are, I'm sure, entirely different.
The problems that we have today, I would have prayed for 7 years ago, even 3 years ago. So it's one of those that, as you're growing and you're going through these different seasons, you have different problems. Right. You know what I mean? So it's just a different series of, how it is, and you're so busy in today's issues, you don't even think about yesterday's or last year's or any of that, but you think about the problems you have today. You're like, man, I would have prayed for these years ago.
Right.
We're just in a whole different place. So first starting out and getting out there, nobody knows who you are. Nobody trusts you. You have no street cred.
Right.
Here you are, this guy that, pressure washes or does whatever it is you say you do.
Yeah.
You have no website, you have no portfolio of jobs that you've done. You're lucky if you're licensed, bonded, and insured. And so, so getting those first customers is the hardest because you have nothing to build that on. These are your hardest ones. So you're hoping for family, friends, knocking doors, whatever you can do. You're doing free jobs if that means somebody can post you to their local, neighborhood Facebook group. You're doing whatever you have to do. And so you're building that, you're building that, you're building that. And then finally, you're starting to get a little bit more consistency there, a little bit of people, giving your names out. You want to kind of up that to that next level of like, all right, go to like a little bit of a more complex project. So for us, our series was kind of starting out with pressure washing, easy, simple stuff, driveways, right? So driveways is like base level. It's about as simple as it gets. It's not easy, it's just simple.
Right.
And you're washing driveways, and it's like, okay, you can seal driveways. Aggregate, pea gravel is very common in this area. A lot of guys seal driveways. You can start sealing driveways. You get into that, and it's like, hey, can you, wash my house? So it's like, yeah. So you go look at how to wash a house. So you're washing houses now. And it's like, hey, my gutters are clogged. Can you, clean those? So it's like, yeah, we clean gutters, So you're figuring out how to clean gutters. And so you're building, hey, and then it's like, now it's getting into soft wash where they're like, hey, can you wash my roof? You're like, I don't know how to do that, but you do some research and you make some purchases, do what you need to do, and now you're washing roofs. It's like, hey, can you clean my windows? And you're like, yeah. And you figure out, all right, here's what I need and tools and all this, you're cleaning windows. And so as through this progression, you start getting those repeat customers, and you have to do obviously great work for them, and they spread your name, and it takes off from there. But you're adding on to your services. So we added on about one service each year. So now we have about 6 main services that we offer.
Nice.
Pressure washing, soft washing, exterior window cleaning, gutter cleaning, aggregate clean and seal, and stone paver clean, sanding and sealing. So those are our 6 main services that we offer. We got into products a couple years ago. So I had an old boss that told me everything that you do, become a distributor for. Everything. So we're using lots of chemical, we're using lots of stuff, so we learned how to become a distributor for it. We got a resale authorization through the state, so you can buy and sell without paying sales tax. You can sell it to other guys. You get it for a significantly lower cost. You can move bulk. You can do whatever you need there, so that was helpful. So we partnered with a chemical company to do that, and that was very good. And then as the years have gone on, the projects and the homes and everything have just gotten more and more and more and more complex. So the complexities, of the properties that you're dealing with, year 7 are a whole different ballgame than the driveway you're washing for $125 year 1.
Right,
it's just a very different ballgame. So just kind of learning those and managing those problems. I told, our project manager here, he's been with us 2.5, almost 3 years now. He does a great job. And I said, here's the thing, man, these problems are more and more and more complex, and that's a good thing. If we were still dealing with the issues that we had 2 years ago, this would be a major, major problem.
Yeah.
They're not. These employee issues are complex. These issues that we have on homes and these challenges that we have, these are complex issues, and they're good to have.
Yes.
So embrace these, be happy for these.
Yep.
We're going to figure these out, and next year they're going to be more complex. So we can go ahead and just get used to it now.
Champagne problems.
That's it, man.
So it sounds like you guys really scaled. Your scaling tactic was horizontally. So you just said, let's add services as we feel comfortable, as we get better at it. What was kind of the trigger or the feeling to know, okay, we can, we've had 10 customers ask us if we do gutters. Let's figure that out. Let's get good at it, and let's start offering that. What was that process like? Or was it just like one customer was like, hey, can you mind doing this? And you're like, I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out. And they're like, yeah. And then you realized it was pretty easy and you could make some money on it? Or how did that work?
Yeah, at first it was like, hey, a customer would ask you, you'd be like, yeah, I'm sure we could figure it out, and you'd do it. And those are the ones that stuck. The 6 we talked about, we didn't talk about the 16 that didn't stick. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, you do it once or twice, you're like, well, this is not for me. It's like, this is not. So, you find those that stick. And fortunately, there's no franchise model. We're not tied to anything. We're not stuck in any boxes. We make decisions and we make it happen. And either it goes well or it doesn't, but you suffer those consequences.
Right.
You deal with those repercussions. So, we figured out what worked and what didn't work, and we stuck with the ones that did, is what we did along the way. And so, if we could help a customer with something and we'd figure it out and try, that was great, and we'd do that. Now, the place we're at is we're very specific about what lane we're in, and everything else. We have a great group of guys. We refer everything.
That was going to be my next question, is like, how do you balance this is a good idea to horizontally scale and expand versus here's my limit? This is what we know and we're good at. Is it like anything with like X year cleaning and that's like kind of the limit? Or is it, because I would imagine you could quickly get down the path of like, yeah, we could fix your deck for you, but then you're a jack of all trades.
It gets easy to do that. So I think that's a good analysis what you talked about, where horizontally and then from there you kind of have that really strong base and you just go up from there. So
Right.
that's what we did. I don't really see any need to add on any services more than what we do currently. We have
got
more
it.
than enough demand, and so it's just like, from there you have all those services. We refer everything. We have a great painter, we have a great handyman, we have a great landscaper, we have a great hardscape guy, we've got a great roofing company, multiple. We have great concrete laying guys. You name it, every type of, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you? No, but I got a great guy for you.
Nice.
So we give out so many referrals now, even pressure wash referrals. We tripled our minimum this year. So our minimum went from what it was this year, it actually tripled, and we give out all the pressure washing jobs that are under that threshold to other pressure wash companies. So we went in with a different mentality than a lot of the other pressure wash companies. We made friends with the good ones. We left the bad ones to do what they wanted to, and we send a lot of referrals out to other pressure wash companies that just a better fit. It makes sense. They can get it done. They can get to it a little quicker, and they can do a great job for the customer. And we'll send plenty of work to them.
That's awesome, dude. That says a lot about you guys' company.
Yeah.
It's because most companies they would say, we'll figure it out, and then they end up doing a bad job.
Sure,
The
yeah.
customer's not happy and all that
Right,
stuff. So, dude, I got to say congrats on year 7. They say year 6 is like, once you're past that, you're like, all right, we can breathe.
Yeah.
We know we're not going to die anytime soon.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So congrats on that, dude.
Thank you.
What areas do you guys service?
So we primarily service Williamson County.
Gotcha.
So fortunately, as of now, we're Williamson County's largest and also highest rated pressure wash company. So
cool.
From Spring Hill to Brentwood, we do Brentwood, Franklin, Thompson Station, Spring Hill, College Grove, occasionally Arrington. We'll do a little bit out there. And we have some commercial projects and builders in Nashville that we'll work for. But 90% of what we do is from Spring Hill to Brentwood and College Grove. So
keeps
anywhere in there.
The
yeah, everything else out. We refer out Murfreesboro. We refer out to Hendersonville, Columbia. We have guys in all these different locations. Do a great job. We refer all that to them when we get those customer calls.
Nice. That's a good spot to be.
Yeah,
in.
man.
That's awesome. What's the goals? What's the next year's goal? 5-year goal? Where do you guys want to be?
So next year we'll get to that 7-figure mark. So super excited about that,
dude.
man. So $1
million
so
pressure washing. Look at that.
Yeah, man. So it's great. Here we are washing a few driveways, and we finally get there.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Be there, getting that salesperson. That'll be a huge thing. Always looking to continue to partner with other guys that do great work in their fields, because we love to refer out. So I don't care if you're another pressure wash company or if you're, any kind of exterior related company. I don't oftentimes have the, opportunity to refer out to a good interior decorator. Nobody trusts the pressure washer with that recommendation, right? But any kind of like exterior related industry, I'd love to meet and continue to, build on those relationships. And then we're always looking to partner with more nonprofits. We're partnered with a few right now in the area in Williamson County. Always looking to partner with more of those because they're great, and we like to do donation washes as well, especially in the colder months when things slow down a little bit.
Nice.
Gives us an opportunity to get out there and help some other people. So
that's awesome, man. And from our side, from MyHome side, is what we're really, really focused on. Seems very similar to what you're focused on. Is we're an invite-only platform for our homeowners. What that does is allows us to have highest quality vendors. Everything from HVAC to lawn care to pressure washing, you name it. If you can maintain it or improve it, your home, then you can find a vendor, and not only a vendor, but one of the highest qualified vendors, one that is certified, licensed, insured, has all of those bare minimum stuff, but also has the reputation, and it's free for these vendors. So it's our model is not